My bad, Craig.
What is what is manga? Like,
What is ink on a page?
What is
this is perfect for like a bloopers episode.
No, this is solid. This is solid.
Patreon content?
Yep.
Patreon content. Uh, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Volume. I'm one of your hosts, Jayden, and as always, I'm joined by.
Hi, my name is Nate. I was definitely expecting Logan to take it, but in order of how we normally do this, I would technically be the next in line. I don't know why I thought Logan would be introducing himself. Hi guys, what's up?
Oh, is it me now?
Yes.
Hi, I am
Oh,
Logan.
you think we'd get this down at this point?
Hi. Okay, back to
Okay.
Jayden.
Yeah, we all said hi. Now what?
So, how are you guys doing this week? How was your weeks? How was your week? Fuck. I am the worst. You still want to restart?
No, I think we keep this in. What
You
is
think?
manga? That's the real
No.
question.
Oh, that's fucking amazing.
Hold up, let me add some context. So this is our second time trying to record this. I got confused on the episode, so I started going all philosophical.
Oh, all right.
You gotta add that clip in.
I'm keeping it. Don't worry.
No, just
Let's bring
insert
it
the
in. Let's
clip
bring it in.
of.
Jay,
Yeah,
how are you doing today, man? How's your week?
pretty good, pretty good. You
Did
know,
you do anything? Okay, I was about to say. I was like, there's got to be more than that.
same old school work. I started reading Awashi. Already
Heck
got the
yeah.
first volume down, so off to a pretty good start.
Hold
But
on. Let me
you,
double check how far I am in Awashi because I also started it this week.
I'm on chapter 3.
Heck
okay,
yeah. I'm on chapter 9.
chapter 9. So you're a chapter or two ahead of me, and then
Okay.
Logan's a couple chapters behind.
Has Ashi hit the shot yet? Or made the play yet? That is like important in the first couple chapters
At
for
the
you?
at the tryouts or
Yeah.
no? They just started the 7. Wait,
The
yeah,
like
no, yeah,
first
he did.
game.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Pretty cool. I'm having a lot of fun
Because
with that
now
manga.
I'm going into where they go play the youth team.
Got you. Yes, I'm also there. I'm like at the very start of the youth team
Yeah, mini arc,
match.
I guess.
Yeah. None of this makes any sense to Logan, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm still in his
kind of
struggle
some
bus
spoilers.
era.
Fair.
This broke
So wait, so
era.
you read the first chapter then, Log, right?
Yeah, I read the. I'm at the point where he first gets to the youth training camp, like the tryouts.
Got you.
Okay.
So, and this coach just made his speech. That's where I'm at.
You
Oh,
guys
okay.
want to talk about the first chapter real quick then? A quick mini book review so far?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I had a lot of the like the whatchamacallit, the twist, I guess, the like rug pull of Ashi being like incredibly smart on the field and no one giving him like the time of day on it because of how he carries himself was very cool. That if I didn't already get that spoiled for me by Jayden, that would have caught me off guard.
I didn't get it spoiled, and I think I would have disliked Ashi more than I dislike Isagi from Blue Lock if that happened.
Wasn't a part of him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Ashi's
not that
actually
I've watched any more than the first 2 episodes of Blue Lock, but Isagi just didn't seem like a great protagonist. But I could be wrong, and I want to finish the anime, so I may change how I feel about him in the future.
So the first volume is the first 3 episodes, I think, maybe
of the
4.
anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
If
sense.
I'm looking at it right.
And you've watched the anime, Jayden?
I've watched the anime.
Okay.
It's been a while, but I did watch it. Okay, might
There's
be
a
able
lot
to
of stuff in the early chapters that keep flashing back to stuff that happened in previous chapters, just so that you can kind of like get an idea of where all the characters' headspaces are. So I think a
Yeah.
lot of that probably got condensed in the anime.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like there's like one thing where they talk the like people who are what do you call the coaches are like
The
checking out.
coaches, yeah.
They're like reviewing all the students. And I had to change how I was gonna phrase that. I don't know if you got that.
Could have said scouting. Scouting out the
Scouting. Yep.
Scouting.
students.
Thank you. And they talk about Odo for a second, which is who's so far looking like the like right hand man or like the second main
Oh,
character.
um, yeah.
And I like him a lot, but he does a few things in a couple earlier chapters, and then they spend a whole chapter talking like the coaches talk about how like he did this in a very particular manner for a very particular reason, and it's
Yeah.
just a lot of like recap on what happened in a
So
good way. But
I
I
don't know if
imagine
you've
the anime doesn't cover that heavily.
I don't know if you looked like any of the pictures from the anime yet.
No,
I just want to get what do you think like his hair color is? Because I know we had this conversation.
who Odo or Ashi?
Uh, both of them.
I think Ashi's brown
Yeah.
and Odo is probably just black. I'd imagine black with maybe some highlights.
It's black at the bot. Like, how do I explain it? His natural hair color is black,
Yep.
but he dyed it green.
What?
Yeah, he has.
Hold
It looks
on.
weird. We'll pull up the picture for the viewers. I can pull up the picture for you too.
Oh
Um,
yeah, he does have green
yeah,
hair. Weird. I mean, it looks cool.
yeah,
I should stop looking at these images though, because I'll get spoiled. But
yeah.
yeah, cool. I vibe with it. The manga doesn't really get that across all that well, but I also haven't seen
No, it
any
doesn't.
like full color stuff from the manga yet, like no
I
spreads or
don't think the
anything.
manga has
The
that.
manga covers would, at the
Oh, the
very
covers,
least,
yeah.
but I haven't come across them yet. Besides Awashi, what you been up to, Jay?
Like
Besides
I said
school and
before,
all that.
it's pretty much just that. What do we start playing this week?
Puck.
Fuck.
Puck. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
we
a
played a
fun
lot
game.
of puck.
If you guys are into hockey and we've been playing a lot of puck. It's hard to get a grasp of, but it is like a steep learning curve.
Very
Yeah, the
satisfying.
controls. Yeah,
Yeah,
really nice once you get going with it. We have like a small group of 4 we play with, and the 3 of us, and then our friend Aiden. We're all just slowly learning as we go, and it's been a banger so far.
and since timeline wise, this is pretty much the first episode that we're recording post the release of the first episode
Is it?
Sure.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think
by
you're right.
technicality.
We even have the second episode already. Like it's going live
It's
tomorrow. It's ready.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot's changed since the last
So
recording.
I'd like to say to the viewers, thank you guys for the support
Yes.
on the
Even though
first
they'll be
video.
hearing this message.
Very
Wait,
later
no.
on.
Listen, if you've watched from episode 1 all the way to this point, you're the reason we're still doing it. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Indeed.
It means the world, genuinely. This is a lot of fun just to do like with friends, but like to have people involved is really why we're doing it.
hmm
I think that's why I'm a part of it. I like engaging with the people outside of the friend group,
Yeah.
and I think it helps drive our own discussions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Logue, have you been up to anything that is unrelated to Puck and or Awashi?
Yeah, I am. Or I have. I was. Uh
Yeah.
I got I finally bought the Haruichi Furudate, the author of Haikyuu, his art book, or not art book, I guess it was just a compilation of all of the color scans and also special
I think
promotions.
it's an art book.
Yeah, I guess. It's called Openings and Endings, I'm pretty sure. Or Beginnings and Endings, one of the two. But it's basically a compilation of his colored artwork, both from the manga, the in-betweens, and the manga front covers and back covers, and then a bunch of the promotional stuff that he did outside of it. And I think the standout one in particular, after going through it with you and Justin the other day, was the Harry Potter like crossover.
Yeah, the Harry Potter one was funny.
Suki being Harry, that was hilarious. But that was a great. I shouldn't even say read because there's no words in it. It was a good look for a book, and I wish there was a way that I could just have those pictures all compiled. Like there's a QR code on the back where you can just download all the images, but it's nice to have it in a physical form on my shelf too.
Yeah, I get that. We were just talking about earlier outside the podcast. I wish all my like physical books were digital because I would stick to reading them a lot better. Just because I'm only time I'm really reading books is when I'm like physically is when I'm home, and a lot of the time when I'm catching up on manga, it's when I'm not home and I'm doing stuff and like I just have some downtime at work or something.
Mm.
So I totally get that. But no, I mean that art book was amazing. The art of Haikyuu is one of the standout points outside of the volleyball. So and it's a manga, so there's only really two major things you got to do: the subject of the manga and then the artwork.
Yeah,
And you got both banger. Oh, God damn it, we're gassing up Haikyuu again.
it's gonna happen at least once, or maybe
every
twice a month.
episode.
Twice a
Oh,
month.
every okay.
Every
Twice a
other
month is
episode.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Oh man. I haven't done anything too crazy. I'm trying to lean into a new work schedule. So trying to give myself more time to focus on stuff like the podcast, focus on stuff like Lancers and my storyboarding and whatnot. It's been working out pretty good so far. I've banged out probably double or triple my output in storyboards this week alone, compared to like the last couple months worth of storyboards from the previous chapter of DU. So I'm pretty happy with the results so far. Hopefully I don't crash and burn, but not feeling it yet. I've been having a lot of fun. Today specifically, I banged out all of Hitachi's backstory from DU. If you're a DU reader, if this episode's coming out and that chapter's not out yet, I mean light spoilers, but if you've read the chapter prior, it's coming. Don't you worry, I'm cooking. I'm having a lot of fun with it too. He was a really tough character to write, but him being the toughest character, I think, out of my whole cast to nail down and finally settling on something and being happy with it, really satisfying as a writer for me. But enough about that and enough about small talk. I think we're here. Oh, well, okay. I have a little bit more small talk. I wanna bring up some current series or a current series that I've been reading this past week that isn't Awashi. I've been catching up with JoJo Lands recently, the most recent JoJo part, and that is I've brought it up with Log this past week a little bit, but um, I refrained from telling him about a specific scene that got me to laugh at work pretty heavily. Right now there's not a lot of this new JoJo part, but we're like in like I would say like the second phase of it. Like we've done all the introductions for the characters pretty much, and now we're like into the main adventure, and they're doing their first main adventure like side quest kind of thing. If you read JoJo's, you know what I'm talking about. And there's a scene with a character called Charming Man who is like way, at least if I'm understanding correctly, he's way older than all of the other kids in like the main JoJo group this time around. Like all the kids are like middle schoolers or high schoolers. And
No.
this guy Charming Man is just like a straight up adult who's hanging around them, just chilling. He's watching one of the kids, Usagi, like just foam out of the mouth, and like he's having trouble breathing, and he's starting to like drop onto the floor and have like a heart attack and stuff, and everyone's panicking, and Charming Man's like, guys, all I'm saying is we really don't know this kid. He's absolutely a druggie. Just leave him. And there's no way it could be a stand attack. It doesn't make any sense. Just leave him. Just leave him. Leave him behind. Usagi's saying they're like, ah! Ah! I see it. I see the stand. It's attacking my heart. It's in my veins. You gotta get to it. You gotta believe. He's a druggie, guys. I've seen him dime a dozen. He's got dime a dozen.
Diamond Ellen.
Dime a dozen. These guys. They're always lying through their teeth. They'll do anything to get what they want. It was so funny that Araki kept that bit going for like 2 whole chapters. It was so good. I currently where I am in the story, I'm like 5 chapters out from being caught up, but he's still in that state. I hope Usagi makes it. I'll keep people posted, I guess, on the next installment of Infinite Volume. If he turns out to actually be a druggie, that'd be so funny. That'd be the funniest twist of all time. And that I'm not being rude while I say that. That is the literal wording that Charming Man uses. But that's all I've got for that. I just wanted to share that scene because it was a very funny bit. I like to imagine that that everyone who doesn't know what a stand is in the JoJo's universe just kind of watches stand users go at it and just think that they're on crack.
I mean,
So it sounds like.
yeah, that's a good way to put it, I guess.
Jayden, would you like to lead us into our main topic today?
So yes. So we know
He was
Shonen
ready.
Jump is the biggest manga. Would it be about production? A producer?
Huh?
Distributor, maybe?
Distributor, yes. That's the
Yeah.
word, yeah.
Sorry, I completely whiffed on anything you were saying to me in the past 5 seconds.
So, so with that, them being the largest and the most popular, they have a lot of stuff. They have a lot of manga that gets released. And we've had some great ones throughout the years. We've had Dragon Ball. We've had the big three. Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. We've had even newer ones. Demon Slayer.
Jujutsu.
JJK.
JJK. Chainsaw Man. But this episode, we're going to talk about more of the ones that didn't make it. The ones that got cut early. And pretty much how kind of like it affects even the mangakas. And how like someone like Nate, this is it. Like I'm supposed to be the lead for this episode, but I think Nate's gonna be he's more knowledgeable on like a lot of at least this side of it. Whereas like he reads a lot and he's seen a lot of these manga get cut early by Shonen Jump.
Yeah, I have 5 examples of manga that I so it's difficult to say that these mangas got the big shiny axe, right?
Yeah.
Because Shonen doesn't come out and say this got canceled anytime it happens, but it's they have a I don't remember the exact number, but there's like a numbered club on Reddit where like it's like an inside joke that if a manga only lasts this many chapters, then it absolutely got canned. Um, it's so well known. They're so notorious for this kind of behavior in the industry that
Yeah.
it can be pretty much safely assumed that these series that I'm gonna bring up got cut short, or at least got rushed out the door, to make way for potentially bigger or better things. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. As Jay said, he was supposed to be in charge for this episode, but because this episode was my personal suggestion, and I have a lot of experience with this kind of stuff in terms of like, I'm the one that's read the series. I've seen them get cut. I work in this. I don't work in the space, but I do make manga from an indie perspective, and I get to see. I follow a lot of creators online and stuff, whatnot. Um, so I get to see when things maybe aren't going so hot, the fall off, and how it impacts the industry and all that. I'm gonna try not to talk for most of this episode. I already am doing a horrible job, I think, but we'll make it happen. Um, Jay, did you have a nice primer for the discussion?
Um, I do have one example, if that's what you
Okay,
mean.
okay. Um,
So,
yeah, lead us in.
this one that I read, it's called Tamaku Cinema, and so it's pretty much about this kid named Hajime. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He loves
Hajime?
cinema.
Hajime?
Hajime, yeah. He loves cinema, and like he is like full blown like one of those like movie nerds. Like he knows everything about, like you ask him about any movie, he knows like every single minor detail about it. And he goes and watches one movie by Takahito, sorry, Takahiko, who actually had passed away, I believe like a little bit before the start of the series, within like the manga's timeline. And he actually, I don't know how to explain it. Not haunts him, but like he like attaches himself to Hajime, and pretty much he gets Hajime, pretty much controls him and writes a whole movie like through his body. Well, we don't get to see the whole thing because it only lasted 24 chapters.
Yeah. A lot can
So
happen in 24
at least,
chapters,
yeah,
though.
but I don't think like the whole thing finished.
Mm.
The guy started watching this one. I think they had the first two chapters out when I read it. I was like, okay, maybe I'll keep up with it. I didn't end up keeping up with it, and then I had seen a little bit later that it had finished after 24 chapters. But I mean, again, it's more of one of those where it has a cool, uh, it has a cool idea. I just don't think it was done in a way that it would keep readers engaged for the way that Shonen Jump does their style, where they kind of want like big hits, like at least manga to be popular like right off the bat. And we kind
Yeah.
of see that with like Demon Slayer was like shot up, like was like one of the top
Demon
ones,
Slayer
like
was ahead of One Piece for a while, I believe.
yeah, and it was like right at the start of it too, wasn't it?
Yeah. It
Um,
was very popular.
trying to think of some other ones.
JJK did really well.
JJK
Like
was
all the
popular
more
like right off the
recent
start.
like
Yeah,
big hits have been really, really well received
and
right out the rip.
I think that's more has to do with Shonen Jump. Like earlier on, like uh, some series they had time to work with, like earlier on, like back in the day. But now with what's like a over $1 billion industry now,
Yeah, it's cooking.
they gotta like keep up with it. They gotta keep pushing out more stuff and try to keep up because even like Kodansha's stuff, it's nowhere near Shonen Jump, but they can put out some pretty great product.
Shonen Jump isn't necessarily like it's not a monopoly per se,
No,
but in terms of like the industry, it's like the
it's
Disney for
yeah,
them. I feel like if I said Kodansha to somebody out here in the States, chances are they wouldn't know what I'm talking about right
yeah.
away, especially a
Then you really
non-manga reader.
like,
But if I say Shonen Jump, they're like, "Oh
oh,
yeah,
One
yeah, I've
Piece,
seen
Dragon
like a
Ball, yeah,
magazine of that before," or
yeah,
my cousin has talked about that, or
yeah.
it's a more household friendly name. They carry a lot of weight. They carry a lot of weight for sure. Um, I also want to bring up like we aren't experts by any means on what we're
Yeah,
talking
no.
about. We're just kind of like bystanders watching what's happening and seeing the fallout of some of it. Especially from my perspective, I like to read the like comments of individual chapters every week on Shonen Jump. I'll just like scan through a couple of like the top comments or whatever. Especially, like if something hype happens in a chapter or like what's really catching people's attention. It helps me for when I'm writing and whatnot, what to keep my eye on. And one of the things I see a lot is if like an arc in a particular series, like right now on the top of my head, I'm thinking of Undead Unluck. Like towards the end of that series, things ramped up very, very quickly. And for a little bit, people thought like they kept saying in the comments like, "Oh, please don't let this be, the series just getting axed. Don't let the series be getting canceled right now. They could have done so much more, this and that." I think the ending was really good, but I think just like that's just like the common perception with these things. Like things getting axed is so prevalent in Shonen Jump that people just assume things are getting cut all the
Yeah,
time, even when they are not.
I kind of feel like too is, especially like Undead Unluck, they had a pretty good run. They were
They had an
they had
insanely long run.
they had over 100 chapters, right?
Yep. I can do a quick double check on how many
Like
chapters.
for me,
Definitely over 200, I think.
at least my way of interpreting getting the shiny axe is getting cut a lot earlier
Yeah,
than what than
239.
than what shown than what well Viz uh pretty much intended it to be. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
all of
I
the
think
series I brought to the table today are all series that either had they ran from like 18 to 30 chapters.
yeah.
Some got a little luckier than others in their runtime, but
hmm
there's
It's kind of like
definitely marks that they're looking for.
kind of like with TV shows where it's
Yeah, you
like
get a season.
some shows like listen, you're getting a season. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, doesn't. Like some shows like but this mainly happens more with like reboots or they try to do like spin-offs. That's kind of where kind of like you see it more on TV where a lot of it gets axed.
Yeah.
Like just coming right off the top of my head, the Friends spin-off, just based off of Joey's life after the show. That I'm pretty sure that got axed like after the plot the pilot episode.
That does happen a lot.
Yeah,
Um I think what's different between I personally I think what Shonen's in a very or Shonen Jump I should say in a very powerful position where they can change the like format of how this is done. I think they have the power to do that. They're just kind of stuck in the way of doing things like traditionally, where like you said, if something doesn't do well, it is immediately cut short.
yeah,
Um, so if something is on the Manga Plus app on the front page, it'll get read. I think it doesn't matter what it is. The people will take to it. It'll find an audience. But if you're not giving things enough time to breathe, especially in manga, like depending on the plot line and like what the mangaka tends to do with it, sometimes things can just take a bit longer. And the payoff is there, especially from the artists and writers they're getting in Shonen Jump. It's just they're just not hitting the marks as fast as maybe some other series. And it's a shame. It's a shame when it happens. Logue, do you have anything to say before I start rattling off some of my things? I guess even before that, sorry. I should mention Tenmaku Theater, is that what it was called, Jay?
Cinema.
Cinema, sorry.
Yeah.
That was made by the Food Wars person, or the Food Wars team, I should say,
Yeah.
of artist and illustrator, which is crazy because Food Wars did insanely well. And to see a series from them get axed is like that nobody's safe. Like if you don't hit their profit margins, I guess, like you
Yeah.
have no shot.
It's all based on readership numbers, pretty much. At least on the. I think that's probably how they gauge it now.
I'm
Based
sure
on
that plays a major part, but I'm sure a lot of it too is like sales numbers of like maybe the first volume or
yeah, true.
social media trending and all that.
Yeah.
Look, you got anything to add? Sorry.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of similar to streaming services and the way they handle their shows, because if something is very popular and gets really high ratings, but it doesn't get enough views or watch time, then there's no second season of that series, and then everyone's just left hanging
Yeah.
hanging out to dry. So I don't like the way they are taking the direction of their business, but it just takes a better company to come in and show that other things can work. Like, developing indie projects can work just as good.
True. True. A big thing too with them, I mean, much like anything that is brought on by a big company and then gets axed, is I'm pretty sure Shonen Jump just like owns the right. In most cases, I should say, in most cases, Shonen Jump just kind of owns the rights to these series after the writers and artists go away or get cut off. So it's like, even if somebody wanted to finish one of these series on their own in the indie setting, they really can't.
Yeah.
I think there's very niche cases. Like I know Hunter x Hunter, Togashi went on hiatus a million times, and then at one point, Hunter x Hunter left Shonen Jump, or like Shonen Monthly or Weekly or whatever one of their spinoff magazines is, and he still got to keep, the rights to Hunter x Hunter. Like he's in a very particular set of circumstances with it to be able to continue doing what he's doing. I think JoJo's might be in a similar vein there. I wish I knew more of like the nitty gritty copyright detail stuff, but you can look it up online for yourselves, dear listeners, and look into these things. They're interesting to look into. I've definitely I've heard somebody on the web tell me these things before, but I've never
Yeah, I'm
gone out of
pretty
my way to
sure
like
Shonen
memorize them.
keeps I think Shonen has the copyright to all their
For
series,
most, yeah, for most.
and then I think they'll allow the writer, they'll allow the mangaka to, if it's like something's like, yeah, it was popular, but not enough for us, or like in the case of Hunter x Hunter, where it just went on hiatus, and they're like, listen, y- we can't be keeping you around, but if you want to finish it, go ahead.
Yeah. Hunter x Hunter specifically is weird because like they'll let or they've settled on letting Togashi like cook up a bunch of chapters and then come back for a bit and then leave for a bit to cook up more chapters, then come back and
Yeah,
do it that way, which seems to be working for them.
but then again,
I love
Hunter x
whenever
Hunter
Hunter x Hunter comes back.
also is a pretty large series, I
No,
mean.
it's massive for sure. Other
So it's like,
series don't have that same luxury yeah.
at least he kind of has a leeway with Shonen Jump, where it's like, this guy's made us a lot of money.
Yeah,
Like,
other
I think
mangaka don't have it that way for
I
sure.
think we can let him do, like, he wants to go on hiatus. That'll be okay. It's like if like Oda went on hiatus for a little bit when Toriyama died. One
Mhm,
Piece had
mhm.
a little bit of a hiatus. Shonen
Oda's
Jump
been
had no
going on a
issue.
lot of hiatuses ever since Wano finished up in the manga,
Yeah,
which is honestly so like that guy can rest. He's earned
yeah.
it.
Like he's another one where it's like he has pretty much one of the top
He
manga
has the
of the
biggest
biggest.
manga. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it is the most like lucrative one ever.
So like
That might
Shonen
be
Jump can be like,
incorrect, but
yeah,
it's
you
up
can
there.
do whatever the hell you want. Like, don't worry.
Yeah.
You still have One Piece will still be printed over here. Don't worry.
Um. So let's talk about some of the ones that. So I've read a lot of them that I've gotten cut, uh, prematurely. I've brought 5 to the table today that similar to Tenmaku Cinema, um, that I w I haven't read Tenmaku Cinema all the way like Jay, um, so I don't know if what situation that one fell into, but I know for these 5, I personally would have liked to see these go on for a lot longer. I think they had great potential, but they got cut short. Uh, I think for all 5 of them, I could come up for reasons as to why they probably came up short. At least in Shonen Jump's eyes, and I'd love to get your guys' opinion too after I've explained them to you. But let's just get into it. Let's stop wasting time here. So the first one I have for you guys tonight is Super Smartphone. I may have brought in this one up before because I remember being pretty into this, but maybe I haven't. There's going to be a massive page jump. I got a lot of pages for all of these, so you guys can kind of get like an idea of what I'm talking about.
I like pages.
Yep. So, Super Smartphone, uh,
Well, damn.
was a manga that was very similar, in my opinion, to Death Note, where the main character gets a device that is very, like, omnipotent. It's called the Super Smart, or the instead of Google, it was called Go Goo Goo smartphone. It was essentially just like a pocket Siri that knew things that it shouldn't. So, like, you could just Google literally whatever you wanted on it, and as long as there was some public I could be mistaken because it's been a long time since I've read the story, but as long as there was some public access, or not even public, just some access or technology anywhere to receive this information, then that super smartphone could find it. Um, or that program could find it. It followed what was his name? Q, I think. Let me just double check. Yeah, Sagurada was the main protagonist. Unlike Light, he wasn't trying to like change the world or anything. He had his younger brother go missing a few years prior to the start of the manga, and once he got a hold of this, you know, insane device, he tries to figure out what happened to him. Um, so it's basically like a little mini detective series of him trying to figure this out while also dealing with finding out other people have access to these smartphones, and they're all trying to do like their own things with them. I think within the first couple chapters it's revealed that there's like a point system with the smartphones where depending on what you search on them you get access to even higher and more quality search results. So, like for everyone trying to reach their own ultimate goal with them, they're all trying to like one up each other. Uh, there was a like L equivalent. It was this girl in the police department who was a like super hacker. She was a lot of fun to see play out. There was the main villain, uh, Zen Zenichiro, Kangen. He was awesome. Every time he was on screen, he just kind of like demanded everyone's attention. Uh, he was like he was involved in the kidnapping of or like whatever happened to the little brother of Q, but we don't. I don't believe we really know what happened with that because the manga got cut too short. Um, and we like after the first arc. of this story. We move into the second arc where we get, you guys can see in the content I dropped that there's a couple of splash pages of all the other smartphone users. In the first arc, we only really see 3 or 4 of them, and then it's revealed that there's, like, so many more, each with, like, their own goals, and, like, we kinda get hints as to what their personality might be. Uh, and in the start of the second arc, that splash page with the boy and the girl, like, the high school boy, the high school girl,
Mm-hmm.
um, we get a nice arc with those 2 that, like, they go to, like, I can't remember specifically what the point of it was, but they essentially go to like a karaoke bar and they sit across from Q and they play like a mental card game with each other, exchanging information that they got through the smartphone that each other's smartphones could only get. Like each smartphone was unique and it had like an advantage the other one didn't have. Um, it was super cool. It like the mind gamey aspect of this series, again, reminded me a lot of Death Note. Uh,
I can
characters
see
having
that.
access to having access to information that only certain other characters would have, information that other characters would want to have, and then leveraging that on others. The character designs were a lot of fun. Paneling was a lot of fun. Art was a lot of fun. It got cut at like 20-ish chapters, give or take. Um, I have a theory on why this got cut so early, but why do you guys think it got cut so early?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It reminds me, not to say it doesn't sound like Death Note, but it reminds me a lot of Danganronpa with the art
It
style and
it
stuff.
has that vibe too, for sure.
Uh, I don't know necessarily why it got canceled. Just maybe too not lackluster. I can't think of the right word, but just kind of
The art style maybe doesn't look too unique.
yeah. Well, generic was the next word I was gonna say. So
Generic, yeah,
yeah, I'll go
fair.
with that one.
That's a
It
fair
was a
take.
little too generic.
Jay, you got any theories?
I think like with Death Note, it's just the main character that has the book. That has the notebook
Yeah,
that kills people. I don't know. For me, it kind of feels like it kind of overcomplicates the whole smartphone thing. I think if it was just the main character that had it, maybe it could have gone a little bit longer. And I think it just like you're adding all these people, and
mhm.
it's just makes it a lot more complicated. And then isn't like his whole goal is to figure out what happened to his brother?
Yes. And so
Because adding all these people kind of seems like it seems to be like slowing it down for him to get to the answer. But
correct.
maybe the manga, maybe he would end up interacting with all these people and
So
get
in the
information
first
from their
arc,
phones.
uh, we get introduced to this aspect very early. Zenichiro is pretty much withholding. Like I said, since he's involved with whatever happened to his brother, he's very purposefully withholding the information from Q because he knows or he figures out there's a very like drawn out, I don't want to say drawn out, but like there's a long part of the first arc where he's trying to figure out who Q is because he knows he has a smartphone and he's trying to contact other smartphone users pretty much. So he has an idea to withhold the information. And that's part of the reason why he can't find it as easily as maybe he should be able to. It plot points withstanding, like those little plot hiccups.
Yeah.
I think the dynamic of all the characters, even though like you said, it overcomplicates things a little bit. Uh, these characters didn't get introduced until like maybe chapter 15, 16-ish. Like these were very towards the end of the lifespan of the thing. The first arc was a really like it was Q, it was Zenichiro, it was Q's friend, and then like two goons from Zenichiro's side that also had smartphones. and they were like going back and forth in like an info war, pretty much. And it was a lot of fun. I had fun with it. I personally, my theory as to why this didn't do so well is because it's called Super Smartphone. That name's
Is that
kind of
the
lame.
title? Yeah, it is.
It is. It definitely is.
I think when you're trying to, now that I've read the series, it's a name that's pretty near and dear to my heart. I love this series a lot, but like, that I don't even remember why I started reading it, but I think it's because Mel read the first chapter and told me to read it. I don't think it's because I remember seeing it and just scrolling past it every time on the app prior to being recommended it
They should have just called it Goo Goo Goo.
or something like that.
I feel
Yeah.
like I would click on that more than Super Smartphone.
And I don't think it's a translation thing.
No, I don't think it's a translation thing either.
I'm pulling up right now because it just says smartphone in the title, in the Japanese title.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's not really.
But this was a fun one. I don't want to linger on it for too much longer.
Oh.
Again, I said this one's special to me because this was like the first manga that I was actively reading week to week to week that got cut while I was reading it. So
Very
I was,
topical.
I was super invested in the story. And then in the last chapter, we got like so much of an info dump on what the rest of the story was supposed to reveal to us over a long period of time.
Yeah.
That like I don't even remember the last chapter. I'm so sad about it. I think I just like glazed over it and I was like, well, damn.
It's cool that they at least just told you what the rest of the story was going to be rather than leaving you on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, a lot of stories will do that. It's just sad when it happens. It's like a bittersweet feeling because you look at them and you're like, man, this could have been something amazing if it just had a little bit more time to cook. If there was more space in the lineup or whatever.
Yeah, timing is also another big thing with these cuts or just series in general. And it's the same thing with video games because if you release Battleborn in the same week you release Overwatch,
Overwatch, one of them's gonna lose.
One
for
of
sure.
them, there's not a market for two of the same thing. So if two isekais, like let's say, I don't know,
Reincarnated
as a slime and not solo leveling. That's not an isekai.
So another isekai.
Sword Art Online, whatever.
There you go.
Those two came out in the same week. I bet you one of them would become extremely popular and the other one would fall to the wayside because
it's like
the interests are split.
Blue Lock and Ayoshi.
Yeah.
Oh, those came out at the same
the
time?
animes did, I think.
The animes, yeah. Ayoshi came out in the spring 22, and then Blue Lock came out in the fall.
Oh, okay.
But Blue Lock already had that hype going into it. So it kind of like overshadowed.
I'm glad there's no
And
other
Aoshi
volleyball
isn't
animes.
in Shonen Jump.
No,
I
it's
guess
not.
Blue Lock isn't either, but Blue Lock was kind of already a big name.
Aoshi is not even like Viz, I don't think.
No. It's in a similar situation to Monster, I think. It's in like one of the lesser known publications.
It's in Big Comic Spirits, which they had Poon Poon, 20th Century Boys, Uzumaki.
Yeah, literally the same thing as Monster. If you said
Yeah.
20th Century Boys, it's the same author. You said Uzumaki?
Uzumaki, yeah.
That's crazy. So they must be relatively
Published
big then. I'm giving them too little credit.
Yeah.
But definitely not as big as Shonen Jump.
Homunculus, I'm Hero.
So it sounds like they're more old school though.
Yeah,
they don't
some
pick up a
newer
lot of
stuff.
Different audience for sure.
Yeah.
A much more mature audience.
Let's see, some newer stuff that they have. Ryawashi. They don't even have an English translation for that title.
Yeah, what is it though?
I'm gonna butcher this so badly. Keikansu Tati Hontu Desuka. Oh,
I thought I would recognize it, but
365 days to the wedding.
oh,
I just have to
hell
click on
nah.
it.
Hell nah.
Oh well. I have just embarrassed myself.
It happens.
Nah,
Don't
I
worry.
don't think you should be embarrassed.
Asadora.
No idea.
Dora? They
No
have
idea.
As-
Dora?
That's Japanese
Yeah.
Doras out there.
I guess so.
That's Nihao Kai Lan. Oh wait, that's Chinese. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
All right.
Oh no!
It's
Logan,
alright.
you have been canceled.
Alright, well,
Congratulations.
we're gonna have to find a new third. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
All right.
That's
Yep.
rough.
Application. Send in your
Hirosumi.
applications. Oh god.
Oh,
Fuck. I'm
Hirosumi.
sorry, guys. I grew up on that show. I knew. I know the difference. I apologize.
Sure.
I know, but
Please don't cancel me.
just like very topical for this episode.
Yeah,
What's
do
this?
not cancel the podcast or me, please.
Don't give us a big shiny X.
Yeah,
Let's
but
move on.
looking through it's a lot of older stuff.
That's fair. Let's move on to the next one. This one was called Fabricant 100. This is another one that I read. I mean, I read all of these actively, actually, as they were being published. But this one I read very shortly after I read A Super Smartphone. I think they were out around the same time. This
What?
one was about. There were 100 different like fabricants that were made by this like mad scientist dude that was trying to like make basically like a homunculus, essentially, for a lack of a better term, similar to Full Metal, by like combining body parts with other body parts to make these creatures that are similar to humans, but they have like these supernatural, or not supernatural, but like superhuman abilities. And they go rogue. There's a family, the main family of the main character, has these bodies that have like this unnatural like youth to them, this like healing ability that they have. And the fabricants basically hunt them down, tear the whole family asunder, take all their body parts, and the only surviving member of the family is the youngest child, who gets saved by I think her name. She was Fabricant 100, the lady in the maid dress. I guess that's not a maid dress, but you know what I mean, the
Yeah.
fancier dress.
Yeah.
She makes a deal with him that once he's grown older, when his body parts are usable, she'll basically kill him to, take all his body parts for herself. In exchange, he gets to get revenge on all the other fabricants. That's like the setup. This manga was fun to read. I had a lot of fun with the fight choreography in it. It was very Demon Slayer-esque, in my
Alright,
opinion.
let's hold up. Before you bring up Demon Slayer, that guy is literally just Gojo.
the kid with the headband.
Yes, I thought the
Very-
first picture you said in order after the zombified kid and the main character kid are top and bottom. The very first one after that, I thought, wow, that dude kind of looks like Gojo in a suit because he got the white hair, or I guess the fuzzy hair and the headband. And then I click on the next one and he has it on his eyes like a blindfold. It's literally just Gojo. That's crazy.
Yeah. He is cool though.
Yeah, he looks sick.
The character designs were a lot of fun in this one. I think where the series lacked the most was it was too similar to, like you said, JJK or Demon Slayer. It had very similar, I don't want to say art style, but very similar like presentation, I guess, to those series. I don't even want to say that it was lackluster, because the presentation was very well done. I mean, the image, particularly with like the Fabricant 100 looking as scary as she does behind the main character, like panels like that were all over the place in this manga. But the whole time reading it, I couldn't shake that feeling that it was just trying to chase that trend in order to like stick around. And I feel like if it just tried to be a bit more unique with its plot, then maybe it could have gotten somewhere. I don't even really remember how the power system worked. It was like there were like these hearts for the normal human beings that they could, like these crystal hearts that they could use to like mimic the powers of fabricants. Maybe it was fabricants' hearts themselves. Like they hunted fabricants down and then were able to use their hearts if they resonated with them to be able to use their powers. Essentially, it was, again, it was very, I don't want to say all over the place because the manga did a good job. I remember liking it, but in terms of like memorability, it blends too much in my head right now with those other aforementioned series.
Hmm.
What do you guys think of it? Just kind of off of this, outside of the Gojo character.
It looks pretty sick.
Yeah.
But the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm seeing that the main character just kind of looks like Tanjiro. And
That's fair.
especially in the one that I was mentioning before with the like the mummified zombie guy.
Yep.
The top panel is just, that is like a combination of Jujutsu where Yuji is facing Mahito and he has Junpei with him, and it does like that fucking pan in on his face, and then Tanjiro with the rage eyes does look very similar, but the story sounds cool. It's kind of like, I mean, this is a very big detour, but it's like, what was that game called? Lies of P, or yeah, Lies of P.
Yeah.
Pinocchio Dark Souls versus Dark Souls 3 or something like that, or
Or
Elden Ring.
Bloodborne. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Very
the
Bloodborne.
same thing, basically, except with very subtle differences that make it a different universe, but this, same old, same old.
I'm now like, now that I'm like rereading some of these pages too that I posted, I think it was more specifically that the fabricants were going around stealing like living humans' parts so that they could become whole. I think that was the gist, which is why there were like other people trying to hunt them down and whatever. Which, in that respect, very Demon Slayer, I think. Like,
Yeah.
the goals of the demons and fabricants weren't necessarily the same, but they were achieving the same ends pretty much. Of having like a group of people having to go and stop them. It's just it's a thing that's been done a lot of different ways. And I just don't think this one was able to catch on as well as some others. That being said, out of all the series I brought today, this one had the longest run, I think. This one ran for about 30 chapters. So this one had about, if I'm remembering right, about 2 to 3 arcs. I would say about 3 to 4 actually, 3 to 4 arcs within that time span. This was a fun one. I did enjoy it for what it's worth.
Definitely looks interesting.
Did you see the one shot that he published?
The one shot?
Well, I think the
Yeah.
one shot is what got him to get this into Shonen Jump.
Oh, by this creator, Daisuke?
Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah,
says
I think
Daisuke Mangaka Fabricant 100 will be publishing a new one-shot titled No 10X Warp X Kiss on May 30th, 2024. So it was a while ago, but it was after the thing ran. So
that's interesting. It's not like these people's careers just end after these either, you know what I mean? Like
Well, this is a completely different manga. I don't think it has.
No, it probably has nothing to do with Fabricant.
No.
But
like I'm looking at his
one
page.
shots are how you get published again, or how you get published in the first place.
Because
Which is another thing I have an issue with, but we're not going to talk about it right now.
Fabricant 100 has a one shot.
I believe it.
That was published in
pilot.
2021, and then he got into Shonen Jump in 2022.
That way, yeah.
Because if you,
did you want to say
was a
something else about
pilot.
Fabricant before we move?
I definitely see where that guy definitely looks like Gojo. He has like that Gojo like style.
It's easy to say characters look like other characters, right? Because I mean, the anime is anime, and like you could say like different actors in movies look like other actors. Um, but in
Yeah,
like
but that
in
kind of like
manga specifically, it's hard to. I guess we're in a day and age where with so many different ones being published all the time, non-stop, it's hard to have a unique standout hit where all the characters feel unique. You feel me?
mhm.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, everything's also. I mean, I know for sure. Me and Logan learned this in school. Everything's art is inspired by other art, so like nothing's original. I can tear my own work, DU, apart a million different ways and tell you where I got the idea for like every character in it, like every setting and all that. Um, some of them are more blatant than others, but that's not necessarily something that's a bad thing. It's more so that it's how you handle the character, I guess. What you do with the idea that you like so much from another creator that matters. And I think in the execution of Fabricate 100, it just didn't go all the way with what it could have been.
Yeah. That's fair.
Okay. So, complete. I didn't. When I wrote this list, I didn't think of like the complete juxtaposition of these two. But we're gonna go from gory, scary one to a nice family-friendly one. Let's talk about Psych House. I loved Psych House. This one got cut way too fucking short, and I
This seems
think
like something I'd enjoy.
this one's a banger. This was a slice of life. It was about psychs, which are people who I don't remember if they were born with or if they just randomly got these abilities, but they just have like these supernatural quirks to them. I wish I remembered all their names. I don't at the moment, but the boy with the bucket on his head could grow. He can make things grow or shrink. The girl, the like main protagonist, that's with him in that like full page shot or double page shot that I sent.
Mhm.
She could touch things and make them. She could touch something and then make them appear to her, and then she could like warp. Eventually, she grew to be able to like warp things wherever. So like in that shot where he's holding the car, he or she touched that car while getting chased down by him, and then accidentally teleported it in on top of him, and then he catches it. Like he just grows and grabs it.
Mhm.
Uh, the general premise was that this boy lives in like this communal home with a bunch of other psych people, who all have their own quirks, and he starts going to the school of this girl who has this ability, who doesn't really know it's a psych. She just knows that she has it, and she's using it in like, some not so good ways. She's like stealing food and stuff, not because she, wants to, but more out of necessity, just to get by. And then she joins up with this house over the course of the runtime of the series. She starts living with these other psych users, gets to know them. There's a little scientist girl who can like multiply herself into other little clones, and then she can get more work done that way. But because she's doing it in that way, she's kind of like she's a bit awkward and like socially, um, she's socially awkward, so she struggles with like getting across certain things in her body doubles. All pretty much like mimic that behavior. So it's fun. It's like basically like having a bunch of choppers around. Jay, you might understand that one.
Yeah.
Uh, there's another one. There's a drunk that lives with them who is a mind reader. Who instead of being like using her stuff for like good or like doing insane stuff with it, she just basically uses it to like win at gambling and then go buy more booze.
Bruh.
Uh, yeah, for sure. She is a bra
Mhm.
moment. Trust me. Um, and then the father of the little scientist girl who doesn't have a psych, but he's just kind of like the housekeeper. Um, they eventually come across some more people with some more psychs. But outside of like the daily lives of these characters and them getting to know each other and getting used to each other and like starting to get along and like becoming like their own little family, we didn't really get that much out of it because they cut it pretty fucking short. They cut it around that 18, 19 chapter mark. Which is a shame. I really enjoyed reading this week to week because it was like such a, like I said, a juxtaposition to some of the other heavier shonen stuff in Shonen Jump. It's a shame it didn't catch on. That being said, I understand right immediately why it didn't work in Shonen Jump, and I think it's because it's not really. It is a shonen, but it's such a slower paced shonen to what they're used to in
Yeah,
that publication.
I don't think it fits in Shonen Jump. I think would fit in one of the probably one of their other magazines. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's definitely sad. I'm sad that it went. It was a nice like palate cleanser in between different series during the week. But we didn't get a whole lot from them. The art style was unique. I like the art style a lot. It was very like softer in its presentation, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like Ponyo-ish.
Yeah, I can
Got
see
that
that.
like not kid type of thing, like a childish fucking
Style, yeah.
style, but just a more simplistic style, I should say.
Some that like in a magazine like Doraemon would have been a part of.
Yeah, very Doraemon-esque. Very Doraemon.
That's kind of seems like the type of magazine where I think would fit in more compared to like Shonen Jump.
Mm.
I just think it was aimed, or at least not aimed. Well, yeah, I think it was just aimed at the wrong audience.
Wrong audience. Okay. Well, this was a nice quick this was a palate cleanser for us. Now let's wet our palate a little bit on this next one. Uh this one was a surprise hit for me. I I know Logan knows. I don't know if Jay you know really well. I don't drink pretty much at all. So this next manga really isn't something that I can like I
Relate
have
to.
really no experience with. This one's called Drunk Bullet. Um and the premise is this character returns from war who used to drink all the time, loved a drink but couldn't get it out on the war field, all right? And then he comes back uh after everyone in the entire war is like, "Man, I can't wait to get home and get a drink." He comes back to Prohibition.
Oh,
Yeah. Chapter opens on it pretty much. Chapter 1 opens on him coming back from World War 1.
oh yeah, I see the
Well, it's
first
called
page.
Prohibition.
Yeah. It's like a historical fiction. Like they give you the rundown on pretty much everything
Yeah,
that's going on
this seems like
around
something else
this.
I'd I'd enjoy.
This manga slapped. Out of everything on here, I don't know how this like I really don't understand why this one didn't last longer. I enjoyed every chapter of this. Like everyone I told about it while I was actively reading it too was like, "Man, that does sound like like a banger series. I got to check that one out." Um I think if anything it was more so like Shonen Jump's own lack of promoting it that maybe caused this one to not do so well, but let's get into it. So, Gary, the main character, after Prohibition hits, basically gets involved with, the mafia and what speakeasies and stuff. He pretty much like immediately in chapter 1 gets in trouble with the mafia, has to go on the run with with the sidekick he picks up in chapter 1. And they go from like place to place trying different alcohol that is like, illegal and hard to come by these days. And like you get as they're going from place to place, you're getting a sense of like how prohibition, you know, affected all sorts of different walks of life, like from sheriffs and police to people who are running the speakeasies, people who used to be barkeepers, crime lords, and all that. Uh, and eventually, like around chapter 3 or 4, we get introduced to the main antagonist, which is Al fucking Pone.
I
That
was
shit
about to
was
say.
so hype.
That sounds fire.
He's like the Kaiba, like genuinely the Seto Kaiba of the series, because he's like not even like he's not a villain, but like he comes back in and he's just kind of like the anti-hero, and they did his character so well. He was so much fun. I wish I got more screenshots of him honestly to show you guys because he was a lot of fun. He was very like rowdy.
How long is this one
Um,
run for?
this one ran for the usual. Let me get the exact amount. I still recommend reading this one for sure. I recommend reading all of them, but this one for sure was oh man, I love Drunk Bullet. Uh, this one ran for 25 chapters. So it also had the in Food Wars. Funny enough, we're talking about it a second time this podcast. In Food Wars, how they had like the foodgasm thing. They would
Mm.
do that, but with the drinks, but in like a much more obviously a much more toned down way. It was more so like you can see in that one image I posted, it would they would draw an image that invoked the flavor of the drink they were having, and they would explain what the drink tasted like. And it was so cool that like they would have that at the end of like every arc when they finally get their drink. Or Gary's only in it pretty much. You know how Luffy's only in it to find the One Piece? Gary's in it only
Yeah.
in the adventure he's in to get drunk, basically. To just get a drink.
That's
Uh
crazy.
he was a very fun character to be around. The the story eventually goes in the direction of the three main characters. I think Gary, Paul, and I forget the girl's name, unfortunately, but she was fun. She was basically just a Nami. But they form their own little mafia group called Drunk Bullet to counteract Al Capone's gang. And from there, we unfortunately don't get much else. They have a run-in with one of Al Capone's main men. I think his name was Torino. And that was a fun arc. But outside of that, it just slowly tapered off because I think they already knew they were going to get cut short. It was sad to see it go. You could kind of tell in the last couple chapters that it was going to. I think literally in the like third to last chapter, it said we have two more chapters. It
Damn,
was
that's
like,
unfortunate.
yeah, it was sad. This was a really fun one though. I think the setup for this one of them like just traveling all across America to run away from the mafia and find different drinks and talk to different people and see the effects of prohibition, the pros, the cons. This could have gone for a very long run, I think.
Yeah.
It sadly just didn't get the chance to. The art
And
style was awesome. Characters are very likable.
for me, it doesn't seem like with Psych House, it was just they promoted it to the wrong audience. Like this wasn't Shonen Jump Plus
Hmm.
from what I looked up. So it seems like it was aimed at the right audience. Like it must have been something behind the scenes.
Yeah, again, I think they just didn't do a great job promoting it because everyone I talked to about it, no one had ever even really given it a shot. Which is a shame. I think this one could have done well. I think an anime specifically for this one to go crazy. Think of like social media blowing up when it's like, "Damn, you see Al Capone is in this? That's
Yeah.
crazy."
I mean,
Yeah, this.
from what I saw, this only ended this year.
Yes, this was a very recent one.
Hmm.
Same with the last series I have to bring with you to you guys. This one also. All of these ended within the last like 5-ish years, give or take. So maybe even like 4 to 3-ish. They're all relatively recent series. So, I'm sorry. Did you guys want to say anything else about Drunk Bullet?
Yeah, it reminds me the most of Bungo Stray Dogs, and that show slapped. So I would have liked to see an anime
Yeah,
about
it
this.
does kind of have that vibe, huh? I
Yeah,
get it. Similar like
with the
era.
the gang, not gang.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess there were gangs and Stray Dogs, but yeah, just the whole theming of having a bunch of
Thugs go at it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I will miss Gary and Drunk Bullet. But not as much as I'm gonna miss this last one. So I said that Super Smartphone is the most near and dear to my heart on this list. I vaguely told a lie, and forgive me. Log, I know you know about this one. Because as soon as it came out, I was like, holy shit, this could not have had better timing for us.
Let's see it.
This next one is Hakutaku. I believe it means white table,
Mm.
in Japanese. It is a manga about game development.
Ooh.
And it did such an amazing fucking job. The art style was very, I don't want to say the art style itself was very high Q, but the way the characters' emotions were drawn were very high Q-esque. Whenever a character was sad or was in the middle of saying something very important to the plot, you could feel it. Like, you just knew looking at the page that this was like a big moment for the character.
Mm.
Uh, and the general flow of the plot was really interesting. There was a boy, Hikuma, was getting bullied at school, but he essentially turned it into a game mentally for himself, so he didn't really mind it. Then a girl who's been skipping class all the time to make games finally shows up at school, notices what's happening, and then sees what he's doing, like pretty much picks apart what he's doing and realizes how like mentally what he's doing to himself and decides to use him as a vehicle to make games because herself, despite being a good producer and like a good like get it done mentality kind of person, she's having trouble actually making things, like putting things together. So she gets these two end up working something out in the first chapter. They make a game for the class that's bullying Hikuma, and then like pretty much just completely blow the class out of the water. They never thought he could do something like this sort of thing. And from there, it goes on to uh, Nono or Noto. I think Noto, Noto was her name. The second main protagonist. She convinces Hikuma to be a part of her like little indie team, and together they want to basically just go to the game awards. They want to just go as far as they can in the gaming industry and like just blow people away. And over the course of the runtime of the series, we see them make a couple of games. We get to see them come across different problems and like solving them through game design. We get to meet a couple of different game devs throughout the series. They get a coder at one, like the a large runtime of the series is them picking up their third main character. I think his name was SEO, SEO. I could be wrong. That's the character crying pretty profusely in the bottom right of that first set of messages I sent you guys.
Gotcha.
He's awesome. He's like a big goofball. Uh, they spend a long time on him, which might have led to the thing's cancellation, but I'll talk about that. Um, and once they recruit him, they go on to they basically go to a game jam, and instead of entering the game jam like everybody else, because they're starting so fresh, they put all their eggs into one basket of catching the big game developers who are going to judge the game jam off guard before they even start setting up for the game jam and show the game to them personally.
Mm.
And with that, we get like this. It's essentially setting up the Luffy to Shanks. Like, this is the gap you have to cross to get to where you need to be in where you're trying to go. And after we got that, they fucking cut it. So we
They
didn't get
really
to see
have a
what
knack for
happened.
that. They
Yes,
just
they
cut things
do.
at the worst time.
Um, this was I loved this series. I loved this series because we were also dabbling in game dev the literal day this came out.
Yeah, I
This
remember
was
that.
this was super fun to read along while messing around with Asperite and all that other stuff. Uh, I really liked all the characters. Same thing I had to say about the other ones. The characters were really cool. Emotional beats were really fun. a lot of the paneling in this one, similar to Haikyuu, I would snapshot and send to Hakur for DU and be like, this is, this is a good facial thing. We should use this for this shot, that kind of thing. I like the paneling here, the spacing. But sadly, we didn't get to see where it was going to end up. The last chapter ends a little uniquely, where it does say that, to be continued, or like New Game Plus or whatever. It said it in like a cute way, but it definitely got axed, which is sad. Just sad. What do you guys think was the reasoning? Because I will go into the CO stuff afterwards as to why I think it got axed.
I don't know.
You
Bruh,
don't.
I
maybe, just maybe.
maybe I don't know. Maybe for me, because it seems to have kind of a similar premise to Bakuman,
Yes, thank you.
and
I
I
meant to
think,
bring that up. It did have a similar vibe to it.
and maybe I think that maybe they thought that it was kind of a little bit too similar to Bakuman, and was just switching out being a mangaka to being a game dev. Maybe?
That's fair. Um, in its defense, like, or I guess not in its defense. I don't know what Bakuman was published in. Jay, do you want to do a little bit of legwork on that? Well,
What, Bakuman?
yeah.
Shonen
Uh,
Jump Weekly.
was it Shonen Jump?
Yep.
Interesting. Could just be timing then. I feel like this is like, I don't know. I thought it was insanely interesting to learn about like the process of game devs and like how game devs get off their feet, and how to network and how to um get your games played, and using their games as like footholds for other things, or like bridging gaps between people and all that. It was cool. But when they introduced the third character, he was a part of I would say the first arc was like, Hikuma and Noto getting along and like learning more about each other. And then the second arc was they went to a local game jam, like a small one at another like high school.
Mm-hmm.
And they met CO, who was a programmer, and they got along well. They made a banger like little game demo. And then afterwards they struggled to like get him, like he was amazing. He was like, as animes tend to be, one of the main cast is just like insanely good at what he's doing. Uh, and they struggled to get him to keep being interested in game development, because he was at the top of the game jam thing. He was like, this is the last game dev thing I'm doing. After this, I'm not doing anymore. And after, I don't want to call it drawn out, because I think it took the right amount of time it needed to tell the story it was trying to tell. But I can see, I don't want to say understand, because I don't, but I can see where an editor at Shonen Jump would look at the length of the arc and be like, you took too long to introduce this character, his backstory, his motivations. You could have done this in this short amount of time. You could have cut this, you could have cut that. And because of that, you got to this late, you got to that late, and now you're 20 chapters in, and what do you have to show for it? Kind of vibe. Which is sad. I feel like I said I wasn't going to talk about one shots earlier, but this is a really good segue into the topic. I think in storytelling, not every story needs to follow the same exact formula. In fact, I think that's detrimental to storytelling as a whole, as like a form of media. I guess not. It's not a form of media, but you know what I mean. Like as a, I guess, storytelling in manga as a form of media should be all over the place and should experiment with certain things, and like you don't get the JJKs and you don't get the Demon Slayers without messing with pacing and without messing with unique characters and whatnot. And I think a lot of things get axed A lot of one shots don't do necessarily well because it's not enough time for the mangaka or the author or the writer to really do what they need to do with the idea they have. And I don't think the work should necessarily be faulted for that. Um, Literally the let them cook mentality. We're so set on like rushing through everything nowadays that things that could potentially change people's lives. I'm sure someone's going to read Hakutaku and go into game development. That is how interesting this manga was, and they will make a career out of it. A lot more people would have done that if Shonen Jump gave it more runtime.
Mm.
So it's sad to see, especially something like this that had the potential to do that for people, uh, not be able to take off for a silly reason like it's taking a bit too long to get off its feet. Uh, that being said, after all is said and done with all these series, I understand where Shonen Jump is as a business. They have a very limited amount of space in their manga, or I'm sorry, in their magazine to show off all these different mangas. I just wish that, if something didn't work out, that they gave an avenue for these creators who are obviously good at what they do to still pursue what they do, maybe just not on the same level as a Dragon Ball or a One Piece or a JJK. Um, I think they're taking steps in the right direction with Manga Plus creators, giving indie devs, giving indie creators a platform with such a big name behind it, to be able to post their stuff and to get seen, and then to like showcase that stuff on the main app when it does, reach the top charts for a month is very cool. But why not send these creators to a platform like that for them and support them that way, and like, allow them to monetize their stuff, maybe let them charge for a chapter or whatever, as like a small subscription fee to read this stuff, that way you can still pay them. Like,
Mm.
there's so many different avenues and ways you can do it, and I'm sure I'm very, very like um ignorant to the way this business is run. I'm talking from a writer's perspective. I'm a creative. I am always going to be on the side of stories being told and getting told in the freest way possible, outside of revenue and statistics and all that. If a story is well done, it'll reach the people that it needs to reach. But I don't know. I feel like there is a middle ground that can be met, and we just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, all the ones that are out there right now that you can post to, like itch.io and all that stuff where you can pay, they usually don't get discovered very much. But then, as we have seen throughout the course of this episode, if you put a smaller creator into the spotlight, then there's also less of a chance that the person putting them in the spotlight is going to want to keep them there.
Yeah. It's a shame, but the best we can do, outside of working at Shonen Jump and changing it from the inside, is putting a spotlight on these kinds of series, and letting people know to go check them out, support the creators, keep tracks of what they're doing later on. Um, oh, a very quick bonus one. We talked about it in a previous episode. I didn't even think to write it on this one. No Name, the one by the guy that did Cyberpunk Edge Runners, that got axed.
Oh, what the fuck?
Oh,
Yeah, that like nobody's safe. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't reach the metrics of these uh Shonen Jump axe wielders, then you're cooked.
Dude, Oda's gonna make a new series called One Piece 2 and it's gonna flop.
well, wouldn't it just be Two Piece?
Shout out to
Oh
Two
my
Piece.
god, that's a yes.
Kishimoto, the Naruto guy, he did a samurai one that got axed. I don't know if you guys remember that one. It was like called The Elusive Samurai. Something. Let me double check. Shimoto Samurai. Oh, I'm sorry, Samurai 8. Um,
I don't remember
he
that one.
yeah, you don't remember it because it got axed.
Oh,
He made one directly after Naruto, I think before Boruto, and it did not do well. So he just made Boruto.
they were
I
like,
don't even
"Where's
think he made
Naruto?"
Boruto. They just like Shonen Jump pushed Boruto over Samurai. It's a big fucking mess, man. It's sad. It's sad, but oh well. Do we have any closing thoughts before we move on to the indie spotlight for this episode?
No.
That was a very decisive no. Damn.
Well, on my end, no.
Not really, no.
I guess to wrap up the conversation on a more positive note, kind of. If you could choose any of the series we talked about today, which one would you like to see continued?
Hmm.
For me, either Psych House or Drunk Bullet.
I'm gonna say Psych House, just because we don't have enough
2
of the
votes for
good.
Psych House. Hell yeah.
We don't have enough of that like bubbly sort of just fun, but also actiony. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's not enough of those.
I would have
Like a
liked to see
like a
a Psych House
Nichijou. We
movie,
need
though.
we need a new
There
Nichijou, and Psych
there is
House could have been it.
actually a anime being made for the Nichijou writers. I think a previous manga before Nichijou, maybe I could be wrong on that, is getting animated right now, and it looks awesome. I think it's called Town or City or something like that. I'll send it to you after the podcast. It looks super neat though.
Nice.
And yes, we do need more stuff like that. I think especially in Shonen Jump, even if, it may not necessarily be traditional shonen, there's an audience for it. People like it. Just because not everyone is, you know,
I am
not
people.
everyone that's hopping on the app um is looking for the next JJK or whatever. I don't know. I'm too burnt out on this topic to keep this conversation going. Uh the indie recommend. Today I have brought a series called Mama's Jewels, which I've already talked about with you guys before because I loved it so much that I had to post about it fucking immediately in the group chat for the podcast. But for the viewers at home, Mama's Jewels is a series uh, written and drawn by Michelle Ning Lo. There are 16 chapters out on Webtoons and Tapas, split into about 40-ish releases. Despite the short chapter number, these are very long chapters. The story consists of 2 arcs so far, with a third one in the works already. Uh, and the art style kind of takes a little bit to get going, I think, from the first chapter into the second chapter into the third. But once it gets going and the artist gets a grasp on, what they're doing and how they're holding uh they do a very good job going building up onto the art style they started with and making it feel more alive and the environments get more detailed and stuff like that. It was very nice to see develop as they go. Um the premise, there's a girl named Rhea who lives in a world where there is no sunlight. The world is in complete black skies all the time. And she gets forced to, I guess not gets forced, but essentially gets forced to replicate, excuse me, the jewels that her mom used to make uh with her as a jeweler, prior to her mom something happening to her. I'm being very careful with how I'm wording my words here because I got an insane amount of enjoyment out of this series by going in completely blind. I did not know anything about it. I saw the author's work on Blue Sky one day while I was at work, and I was like, I'm feeling an indie read. I need more indie recommends. I'm gonna check this one out. I binged the entire thing in one go within a couple hours. I love the characters a lot. The art style really comes into its own over the runtime of it, which really impressed me. A lot of the twists and turns in this, as I guess maybe as a writer, I maybe picked up on stuff normal. I say normal people. Some people might not have. We're all crazy, by the way. Writers are fucking insane. I picked up on some stuff as I was going through, but I was like telling myself that was weird. I wonder why we chose to linger on this for as long as we did. It must just be the way it was paneled. And then that stuff would actually come back and be very important, and I felt so smart for picking up on it. A lot of the mystery and like the twists and turns are all very well done. I never knew where this series was gonna go, but anytime it did take a turn into something, I was very pleased with it. Very exciting series. High recommend. Michelle, you've been awesome to interact with on Blue Sky. Thank you for sharing so many illustrations with everyone on there.
Bro, I was about to say, do we have a fourth member or something?
No.
Who is Michelle?
I've just spoken with them on the web after reading their series a couple times.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well,
indeed.
shout out
Great.
Michelle.
Yeah, looks really good.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, I feel like we've had a great episode, lads.
Yeah.
A very
Mhm.
sad episode, but
Sometimes, and this is following the Silent Voice episode, but at least
yeah, we
at
could have
least we
done
did it.
something better.
No, because in the Silent Voice episode, we didn't really go too deep at the end into the dark themes of it. We just went into the characters and why Miki is a horribly written character.
That's true. I hate that character. Anyways, I think it's time we tell our lovely folks at home to have a good.
And what about next week's?
Oh yeah, fuck.
We
damn
gotta
it.
pick next week's
We do
episode.
gotta pick next fucking episode. God,
It's gonna be a
I'm so
surprise.
tired.
Who's next week's? Is it Nate or me? It's Nate,
So
right?
I'm gonna let Jay repick because I pretty
Oh,
much
okay,
ran the
okay.
episode.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's very fair.
Yeah, how older manga influences newer manga?
Let's go.
Did you just write that one, or was that there?
Yes, I wrote that
Okay,
one today.
I was like, you almost gaslit me into believing that was already on the list. I
So,
was like, huh,
Dude,
First,
that one's
I actually want to
oddly
give some
similar to the
context.
one we did today.
So, for some context, I misread this week's topic and had been thinking about it the complete wrong way for the past 2 weeks. I'm preparing for today's topic.
It's okay. It's okay.
So at least this one, I kind of already have a head start.
No, I'm excited to think about this one and to talk about it.
Yeah, I was looking at this one, and I shit you not, I had it highlighted. Not actually highlighted in blue, but I was highlighted over
Yeah,
it.
like
And I was
hovering
like,
over
I
it.
hope he picks this one. And then when you said that, I was like, yes. And I also was not aware of the fact that it was not on here prior to today.
Yeah.
But I
genuinely
looked
had
at that and
questioned
I
it.
thought, oh, that's a really good topic. I kind of want to do that one. And then you said it, so that's
All right.
crazy.
Next time, how the older manga influenced the industry, which is how it's written in the dog.
Yeah, that's the episode title, by the way. How the older manga.
Oh shit.
God, they're going crazy. You got everyone at home. Have a good.
Mhm.
Have a good.